And I'm back, and what I'm going to do today is I'm going to change the rear struts in a 2001 Volvo V70. Okay, so I got the vehicle secured. I got the two rear wheels off. I've chalked the front wheels. Now there's been a bit of work that's happened in here since I last saw you. I've had the rotors machined. I put on some new brake calipers, new pads, and a new brake line, but I took it for a drive and it's just bouncing all over on the back end. It's just everywhere on the road. It's just these struts are doing absolutely nothing anymore, you know, just on the spring. So I've as you see there, I got some struts. I'm going to change them out as a unit. That way you don't have to get into compressing the spring to change the shock, and that's usually the way people do it these days anyway, so that's where I'm going to do it. So I'll just show you here inside where the top nut is. Yeah, you come up inside the cab here, and on this particular vehicle, see right there, that foam right here. Okay, so I just cut around the glue on that, got that out of there, and here you can start to see the top of the strut. There's a bolt here. Okay, we see here the top of the strut mount, and there's a bolt here, and I see another one here, right there, and that other one on the top. That would be the three of them, I think. And then it's this bolt right here on the bottom. Okay, so this one came out pretty easy. Okay, got an extension on there, a universal. And let's see if we can get it up in here now. There it is. Okay, let's see. There it is. Okay, that one come out. Okay, that's two. That's gonna be this one here. This looks like about 17 mil. I'll have to try a couple of sockets on there. And then there'll be that one on the top, looks like 13 mil. Okay, this one here is actually 12 millimeter right here. All right. Comes out with a little retaining washer. Okay, this one down here is 17 millimeter. It's coming right out. Okay, so I got an old pry bar here, and see how I got it located in behind that, behind the strut there. It does sit on a little shaft sticking out there, so I'm gonna see it there. It's coming out, and there it goes. Okay, there we are. And that should just come out of there. 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 And there. Okay. Okay, there's the old one. There's the replacement. Okay, they're identical. And yeah. Okay. Okay. And in there. A little wrestling. Wrestling's okay. I'm realizing that control arm has to go down a little further because it you know, there's a bit of spring tension on it when it came out. It didn't go in easy. So at the same time that I'm changing the rear struts, what I'm doing is I'm going to change this rear bearing. I think there's a worn bearing here, so I've got a new one. So what I've done is I've taken off the caliper and the rotor. I'm going to take off these parking brake shoes and the mechanism, and then there's 4 bolts that hold the hub on, and I'm going to change that, and I'll show you what the hub looks like. So here's the new hub right here, and there's the 4 bolt holes. There's the new bearing, because I'm getting a little bit of a howl on the highway, and I think it's this bearing coming from this side anyway. So try this one first, and if not, it could be, you know, sometimes the noise doesn't always come from where you think it's coming from. It could be the differential in the rear. I'm hoping it's not. I checked the fluid in that last week, and the fluid was good, so You know, it could still be worn out if the fluid's good, but I'm thinking it's this wheel bearing. So I ordered one, just one side, and we're gonna get that changed. Okay, these springs, they go in and they slide. You grab a hold of them and they slide back. There's this little slot there. It's kind of a funny way they hold on. It's not a standard brake spring at all. If you haven't seen it done, this is not the way to get it off. There, it finally came out. Look at that thing. See that thing? See that little hook? That only goes in a certain way, and then you have to push it back, and then it hooks like that. So the way that little end points, see, is the hook. So when you go to put it in, you hold it like that, push it in and pull it back, and then it'll hold. Okay, so with the parking brake shoes out, what we're going to do is we're going to remove these 4 bolts, and they're 17mm head on them. Okay. Now 3 of those bolts came out real easy, and the last one is sort of trapped in here. You know, I can't get the bolt out, but I can unscrew it. So that's what I've done, and now I'm going to see if I can pull that hub off there. You got to remember it's splined to the axle here, so hopefully it's going to come off the axle easy. Giving this a couple of good hits with the sledgehammer, and see it's starting to crack up here now. Starting to come off, but it's fighting every inch of the way. That was a lot of work to get this hub off. And I finally broke it with a chisel and a little hammer. But I had the big hammer standing by. I was ready to use it. Now look at that. See, it wasn't hung up on the axle. It's just stuck there. Man, ever hard to come out. Backing plate, and I'm going to clean everything up. There. Oh, one more. Okay. Wow. That's going to need to be cleaned up a bit there too. Okay, so it's the next day, and I finally did get that strut in there, and I'll tell you how I did it. So what there is there's a little shaft that sticks out there that this the strut sits on, and there was a bit of tension needed to be taken off the strut to do that. The control arm doesn't come down low enough to just sit the full length of the new strut in place. So what I did was I used a floor jack, and I put a floor jack under here. It was pretty hard to film, so I didn't film that, but I just put a floor jack under here and gently, you know, lifted it about an inch is what I needed, because this was pushed down as far as it could go. And it was a bunch of manipulation, and I used some small pry bars here, and I used a big pry bar over here up in the frame there to push down on this one. So I kind of sat on that a little bit, and then I moved this up with the floor jack. So there was an issue where this little bit of the strut was touching on this trailing arm, so I had to make sure that that was pushed ahead with one of these bars. So there was a bit of you know, kind of holding your mouth in the right spot to get it to go up in there, but I finally got it lined up, and then I just tapped it on gently with a hammer, and then put the bolt in. And the other thing I did was I didn't have these bolts all the way home. When I did it, I had them out about 1/2 inch each, front and back there, and I found that made a difference, because I was trying to put it in with the strut bolted in tight at the top, and it made a difference to loosen it. And you know, I had a little bit of more wiggle in it to get it on down there. And so now it's in, that's tightened up, and these are tightened up. And the other thing I did, now you saw I was changing the hub. I had a lot of trouble getting that hub off yesterday, so then what I did was this morning I took a wire brush, I cleaned all this off, and I went over the surface with a file. I got it tidied up. Okay, I'm getting ready to put the backing plate in. I'm just going to reuse this old gasket. Looks okay. Doesn't look like it does a heck of a lot anyway. I'm going to put that in and put the bolts. So let's just get that up in place and I'll show you how that goes. Okay, that one there. And this one right there. I'm going to put some anti-seize on that mating surface. So if ever it has to come out again, it'll come out easier than it did this time, because wow, that was really a tough one. So I'm going to put it all around here where it mates. Okay, see how the hub is longer on one side than the other? Make sure it goes in that way. All right. I'm also going to put some anti-seize on the splines for the axle shaft. Okay. All right. A little bit. A little more to the left. Let's see. That looks pretty good. Okay, now let's see if we can get a couple of bolts in there. Okay. Put the bolts through here. Okay, I got that bearing hub mounted in there. Now, I didn't take any of the other stuff off to get at the heads of those bolts. So, you know, I mean, if you would have taken off some of this stuff in the back, it might have been easier to get to. So some of them I was able to get to with an extension and a universal, and the others I used just a box end wrench on. But I got them really good and tight, and I have no worries that that's going to move or go anywhere. So, okay, I'm going to start putting those brakes back on. Okay, so I got the shoes on there. Got little springs in here. A little one goes on this side with that bar, and this one here is that lever, that parking brake lever, and the big spring goes on this side. And these little spring retainers. That's probably the worst spring retainer I've ever seen, but Volvo seems to think they work. So, and I cleaned it off with some brake cleaner. And I got my drum here. I'm going to put the drum on. And there's one retaining screw for the drum right here. You see the threaded hole there. You just have to line it up with any of the holes. They provide several holes in the drum, or in the rotor, I should say. They provide several holes in the rotor to line up with that retaining bolt hole right there. Okay, so there's one lined up there. Okay, so I put the rotor on. I hung the caliper bracket. Now I'm just using a C-clamp to compress the piston. And put the pads in. That one with the retainer goes inside the piston. This one out here, like that. Okay. Now this is a brand new caliper. It was only put on about a month ago, so I'm not going to lubricate all the slides because that was all just done. But most people that are watching know how to do this anyway. But so just slide that back on there, and we'll get our slider pins in there and tighten those down. Okay, I got the slider pins. And the holes are already lubed up. It's a T45 that fits these slider pins. And I'm just going to put the brake retainer in here, the anti-rattle clip. So, like so. And I'm just going to put back in the ABS wheel sensor. Okay, it just goes in here like this. Slides in there. And there's a little bolt. That little bolt there. 10mm head. Okay, so you got to put the bolt in on the top of the strut. Right here, there's a place for it. Okay, and that's the 12mm head. Let's get that tightened down. Okay, there it is. Struts installed, all tightened down. Get the bumper back in place. Okay, that's how that's done. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. We'll see you again here soon. Bye for now.